Assalamu alaikum, you're watching Views and News and I'm Faisal Rahman live from our Islamabad studios. Today we'll be talking about this very important visit of the Prime Minister Imran Khan to Saudi Arabia, where he's going to attend the investment conference, and then we'll be looking into certain areas where the Saudis or some other, I would say, brotherly countries can invest in Pakistan, especially in the energy sector and also in the infrastructure side. Now, the good news is that, which we just gave you, that Saudi Arabia has announced that they will be giving Pakistan $3 billion to look after the balance of payments. The second good news is that a reduction as far as the visa fee is concerned for all those Pakistanis who are working in Saudi Arabia. And the third news is that Saudi Arabia is going to give us oil or the petroleum products on deferred payment. So that is going to give a lot of cushion, a lot of breathing space for the current government, at least for 1 year. So let's see, where do we move from here? But at least there is some cushion now. The Prime Minister Imran Khan was very keen and was expecting a lot from the Saudis. And at the end of the day, this is what has happened. We'll show you a soundbite of the Prime Minister, and then I'll introduce you to our panelists, and then we'll continue our discussion. Let's see what the Prime Minister had to say.
Pakistan is a country with great potential. In the 60s, Pakistan was growing faster than almost any country in Asia, and that's because we had the best governance system. Now, Pakistan, in my opinion, is ready. I repeat, the biggest resource in Pakistan are the 100 million Pakistanis below the age of 35. It's a huge potential in the country. We have a diverse, mineral-rich country, one of the most fertile lands in the Indus Valley Basin. So today, the country stands where it is probably right now is the best time for investors to come to our country.
So the Prime Minister was basically addressing the investors, and he said that this is the right time for the investors, for the foreign investors in particular, to come and invest in Pakistan, because Pakistan has so much to offer. He was talking about 100 million people who are under the age of 35. He was referring that we have got huge lands, you can be cultivated, and then obviously this is the right time to invest and get the maximum out of it. To talk about this, we have with us in our studio, let me introduce you to our panelists, Lieutenant General retired Talat Masood Saab, needs introduction as a senior analyst, sir. Thank you very much. We also have with us in our studio Ambassador Tajammul Islam Saab, senior diplomat, sir. Thank you very much. And we have with us Abdul Jalil Saab, senior economist, sir. Thank you very much. Jalsa, first of all, so the good news, $3 billion deferred payments regarding the petroleum products, and on top, visa fee reduction for the majority living in Saudi Arabia. Sir, let's start off from there.
Well, I think it's a very good news because Pakistan at the moment is going through a very difficult times in terms of its financial situation. The balance of payment position is very bad, and that has been a very source of great concern to the new government as well. And so I think it will provide a lot of relief at a very critical time, reduce our dependence to some extent on the IMF, and so I think it's a very good news. At the same time, it also shows that the type of relationship that we have with the Saudi Arabia is truly of a strategic nature, and Saudis have always tried to help us out in difficult times. So I think the other aspect is that we have to see that the money that we are receiving from Saudi Arabia has to be spent in a way that really maximizes the potential of this money, in the sense that it could be used for different purposes. But what it should be used for is to sort of clear our debt, and also do wherever it is invested, it must give returns which are genuinely, in the interest of Pakistan.
That is very wisely said, sir. Whatever money comes in should be used wisely. So that, at least, obviously, when we talk about balance of payments, I mean, this is not enough, but at least a decent injection in our economy.
It's a breathing space. It gives you a breathing space. And then I think furthermore, the visa fee had become too exorbitant, and it was creating serious problems for even those who have middle class people as well. So I think this will greatly facilitate travel to Saudi Arabia, and I am told that I think they will also be relaxing on the visa system as well, because at the moment the visa has
It's not as easy as it used to
is
be.
is quite strict.
So,
But
sir, one more quick comment, sir. Jal Sahab, is it only for those who are working there, or it could be also for those who go for Umrah and for Hajj purposes?
yeah, I'm told that they are also addressing this aspect as well.
Okay.
And they are also addressing that those people who visit on business and so on, for them also they should be reducing the visa fees, because it is again very exorbitant. So you cannot have good business relations with a country when the visa fees is so
So high, exactly. But good news is that, sir,
And
earlier.
then one more point I'd like
Sir?
to quickly add, that you also should relax the visa for those people who are doing, projects or business in Saudi Arabia, because if you don't do that, then it's very difficult.
Travel should be made easy,
easier.
basically. Now, sir, another important area that I definitely want your comment on this story. But let me add another question that there was a story that the UAE, Imran Khan Sahab, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, had a telephonic conversation with the Crown Prince of UAE. And he has also assured that he's going to definitely do whatever he can do in his own personal capacity. Sir.
Oh, well, thank you so very much. All these three news, if we take them in one, are definitely very good news, very good beginning for us also. And secondly, yes, before going to IMF, this was the prime consideration of the Prime Minister and his team to try all the avenues from where we can have some backup support. And the best backup support we have seen has already come in the form of this Saudi payment thing, $3 billion US. And then of course UAE is also considering it positively to have that sort of foreign direct investment coming to Pakistan so that our problem is eased out. And then other than that, we are also looking towards China. They perhaps may also be considering in one way or the other, if not in finances, to come up to the rescue. And also Malaysia is also on the line. Prime Minister is also thinking to consult the Malaysian leadership, especially Dr. Mahathir bin Mohamad.
Imran Khan Saab's ideal is Mahathir Mohamad. He has said that on so many occasions.
Yeah, yes, and all these things, if we take them together, this is a very promising beginning for the new government, which started in a very difficult economic situation.
Ambassador Saab, if you remember when Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz got into power exactly almost 5 years ago, they also got $1.5 billion from Saudi Arabia. And I remember Ishaq Dar Saab was the finance minister. He said this is a gift from the Saudis to Pakistan. So it is not the first time that they are looking after our affairs. Saudi Arabia, practically, its economy isn't doing that great, sir. So the case is with UAE. So that also shows the kind of commitment that leadership and the trust they have in Pakistan, sir.
Well, I think one is traditional friendship between Pakistan and the Muslim countries, especially the Saudi Arabia. Then secondly, the way we are now looking at our financial situation, and this is also obvious to the Saudis and others, and gifts apart, I think the most important thing for all of us is how to utilize that money which is coming to the kitty. And wherever we need essentially to use that money should be going very carefully instead of wasting even a penny. If we don't do that, then these gifts will not be coming forever. And we have to be very careful in our expenditure side. And the way we are really looking at a difficult future, and even in this investment conference in Riyadh, Prime Minister has very categorically shared we were listening to one of the clips. Yeah. And he was giving all positive sides of investment in Pakistan and security improving, and the way investment climate can be improved, but that is possible only if things start improving on the ground. And that is a far cry on which our side really needs to focus the maximum, so that we should not be having that sort of excuses each time when we are going to our friends. We need money and they come, and how long they will continue that sort of assistance.
Correct.
We really need to put our house in order in such a way that whatever is coming for a specific purpose should be utilized for that, and it should not be wasted on non-developmental
Yes,
expenditure.
absolutely.
it should be very carefully and judiciously used for the betterment of and you know, giving that economic strength to the country which is desperately required.
Absolutely, and this word desperate actually, interestingly, was also used by Prime Minister Imran Khan, that we are desperate. Now, sir, since you're an economist, sir, now the effect of this injection, or the three major areas, deferred payments regarding the oil, sir, or petroleum products. Second is about the ease and visa. Okay, that is a little different, sir.
Yes.
And this $3 billion injection. Now, we do not know whether it's a soft loan or what are the terms and conditions. We'll get to know about that also. But, sir, what sort of benefit do you think the economy is going to get out of it?
It all depends upon the wisdom of the political leadership, now how they make use of this loan. That's very, very important. First, I want, what it proves, as you know, that traditionally our relationship with Saudi Arabia has been very close, and they are time tested as well. Saudi Arabia also wants to diversify all these sheikhdom assets. They want to diversify their financial resource, you know, by trying and by exploring the regional market as well. And we must welcome these opportunities. This is very important. And we must give them a very sound, a very clear, well-sounded message to them that they are most welcome, you know, in improving the emerging market of Pakistan, which carry a lot of promises, as you know, because of our new commitment with the CPEX project, because it is, of course, one of the chain in the global development project, a global business management development project, number one. Number two, what I want to say, as far as the utilization of these funds are concerned, that is very, very important, and they must use it for a very well calculated strategic objective.
What are the areas, sir?
What of the area? This is what I want to say. Heavy engineering and light engineering facility should be upgraded. This is what I said, that technology standards, technology should be improved. That's very important, because it's a long-term investment which will create an asset of much more value in return, number one. Number two, energy sector. Energy sector machinery should be upgraded, which is very, very important. For a very long time it has been ignored. And unfortunately, technology management as a culture, as a part of the policy, has been totally ignored. Technology management is a subject which goes parallel to the financial management. Technology, like finances, is another important.
This is the era of automation, sir.
And our economy is right now, if you see, it is totally relied on the third version of technology, whereas the Western, the modern societies, even India has developed a fifth generation of technology on which they are relying. So that is very important. And then textile technology. The textile, it should be upgraded. You know,
it needs to be upgraded, sir.
If you remember, when Obama came into power, then during those days, the American automobile industry was facing a lot of crisis. As a result of which, many in Detroit,
in particular,
majority of the
Ford
automobile industry were closed down. So, and as a result of it, migration was started. The town became deserted. He pumped in.
Sir, they had to shut down so many plants. I remember
yes,
General Motors and Ford,
Chrysler,
Chrysler, Daimler,
yes,
yeah.
and Chevrolet, and etc.
Chevrolet.
etc. Anyhow, and they have to pump in 700 billion rupees to revive that town, and that town is now coming. Its economy has been revived, and of course, it is showing a sign of great economic stride or economic advancement. So this is what I would say, that the utilization of the fund has to be done strictly according to well calculated strategic objective. This is very our technology, the technology standards should be upgraded, right? And it should be improved, modernized, and effort should be made to create, you know, should be made to ensure that the long-term investment, this long-term investment ultimately proves in the creation of enduring assets, right? And this money should not be, as far as possible, this should not be used to, you know, to settle.
So one more quick comment, sir. One more quick comment, and that is about, sir, since the Prime Minister is really seeking that the Saudi investors or investors from the Middle East in particular, I mean, there will be a lot of people coming in and should invest in Pakistan, especially in the energy sector, as you earlier mentioned, in infrastructure as well, sir. Yeah. And we have also heard that some of the Saudi groups, they've also shown very keen interest in setting up an oil refinery worth around $10 to $12 billion in Gawada.
Yes, this is a good, you know, this is a good. I would say that a lot of credit goes to Imran Khan as well and to his personality as well. And at least they have gotten message that the state of Pakistan is now fully committed towards bringing a very transparent culture in their financial management and the business management. This is something this is something which is very, very important, and we must give this message to the world that the old culture, which unfortunately brought about a very bad name to this country, is being replaced and being smashed now with full determination. It's very important. So accountability, as far as accountability exercise is concerned, it should be taken very, very seriously, and we must tell to our own people and to the world over investor that if anybody who has tried to misuse the financial authority or for that matter indulge in corrupt practices will not be spared.
Right.
This raises your
All right. Absolutely.
the image as well as the level of trustworthiness.
All right. Now, sir, IMF, everybody is scared of it, unfortunately. They say that IMF is a doctor. You go to that doctor, you will never get any cure. At the end of the day, it's a different ballgame. But now, sir, do you think the dependency on IMF or the kind of approach we had earlier towards IMF, obviously Saudis will not say that do this and do that, but IMF always gives you certain parameters to follow, and they tell you that you need to do this, you need to make sure that this particular sector should not be ignored, raise the prices, raise the tariff, and so on and so forth, which is practically something very difficult for a government like this one to digest, to absorb, and especially for the people who have got very high sort of expectations from Mr. Imran Khan and his team. Now, so do you think that kind of the overall impact or the fear of IMF is going to reduce as well? Will it be?
Well, I think to some extent, but I think there are certain prescriptions of the IMF which are also beneficial. You can't just say that whatever IMF prescribes is not good for the country. There is no doubt that
For the tax base, yeah.
Absolutely. If you look at the IMF prescription, many things which they suggest should be done normally without their telling us. But at the same time, their conditionalities do impact, and the growth is affected. And today it is 6 point. We are nearly about 5.6 or something like this percentage GDP growth. That will naturally reduce to something like 4. That's what they say. That would be its first impact. Well, so there are certain negative things as well as a consequence of going to the IMF, but it also sort of disciplines you in a manner. If you really comply with it without the IMF telling you, it is even better. But I would think that Pakistan's bargaining position will undoubtedly improve as a consequence of you getting money from Saudi Arabia and maybe some help from
And
the
the credit
Chinese.
rating, I'm sure, is going to be stabilized as well, sir.
And the UAE as well. So apart from that, and I think as has been very rightly said, that if there is a greater level of transparency, then there will be a greater level of confidence on the part of investors, potential investors in Pakistan. And the security situation also has definitely improved, and with the border fencing and so on, we hope that it would further, there will be an improvement on that. So one of the major reasons why there was less investment or no investment in Pakistan was because of the security situation, because of people not having confidence in the fact that the money that they would invest, that would give them a proper return and all that. So I think those fears to a large extent will be mitigated if there is a greater level of transparency, and I think the infrastructure and all these aspects and better sort of energy situation, I think this will be a greater added attraction towards investment.
So basically what you're saying, sir, this is a sigh of relief, basically, for the
Like,
for at least 1 year.
What we have to see is that whereas this is all good news, but the implementation part is the most difficult part.
That is the challenge, actually.
And Pakistan's greatest weakness has been the implementation aspect. It's not that we don't know the answers. We don't know. We know the
Is it the
treatment.
lack of will or the
Well, I think
incompetence, or what would be?
I think there are too many compromises that take place, and the compromises are because of several reasons. It's a very complex sort of a situation. What type of leaders do you have? You can't just depend on Imran Khan alone. It's the whole society. It's the political system. It is also, to what extent there is a business ethics amongst the businessmen. It is so. I think it's also the bureaucracy. So it's not just one thing. So I think we need to sort of address, and I'm sure that this government and will also address all these issues, and they are committed towards that. And let's hope that there will be a greater implementation in all these areas, which would facilitate the flow of investment in Pakistan, and will restore the confidence of the international community, which will help in the economy as well. And if the economy grows, then you will find that you can build as many houses as you want, or you can really build an infrastructure.
5 million, that's what the target is. So let's see, sir. Now, sir, the areas, sir, for example, earlier mentioned by Jalil Saab that, we need to look into manufacturing side, whether it's small scale or it's large scale. Then you need to, make sure that you should have modern machinery for textile production, because it's a very competitive world now. So we used to live in an era, when we were having a good market share and all, but now we have lost that market share. India, Sri Lanka, Turkey, Vietnam for that matter, even Bangladesh, they have taken that market share. Now, sir, obviously you need to have a strategy. Razak Dawsab is a brilliant man, so is the case of so many other brilliant people, but it needs a lot of effort, a lot of commitment, and I would say 24/7 kind of a, mindset, basically. The challenges would be still there, sir. Despite the fact that we have gotten this money, I'm not sure what exactly would be the amount initially, and then how will it come, and how will it be wisely used. I'm sure they have a strategy, they have a formula for this. But sir, just for 1 year, I mean, if you put it that way, petroleum products used to be around $35, $36 a barrel. Now they're touching around 100. So there is going to be a different impact. Obviously, now we have got some cushion, some breathing space. But now, sir, what do you think the government needs to do, sir?
Well, first of all, again, supplementing the views of my co-panelist, General Talat Masood Sahib, perhaps the PTI government is still very judiciously thinking not to go to IMF and depending on other sources for
other options.
Options. But of course, our dependency syndrome is very much there. Right from the 1958 onward, we are still facing that sort of dependency, which we are not going to do away in a couple of years' time. We really need to put our things in order. And for that, of course, first looking all that funding coming from different countries, whether that will be sufficient enough for us to start with, or we will still need to revert to the IMF. This is the fundamental question. Once we have done and we have come out of that breathing space thing, and we are in a form where we have to think now what to do first, revamping of our old ailing industries, which are really no more usable, even to starting with changing everything in energy sector, which really needs even the change of transmission lines and distribution system and whatnot. And that is almost problem everywhere in each and every sector of the country.
Losses every year is 214 billion rupees. Can you imagine, sir?
Exactly. So we are really thinking.
And you need at least $60 billion
and
to redo the infrastructure.
And we are really thinking to redo everything to make a new Pakistan. And what is that new Pakistan is? I mean, we have to start from the scratch. We really cannot live in that old world of 70 years, which we have one way or the other completed, and we are still lagging behind. We have to really tighten our belt and then start thinking. Prioritize priority number one. We have to do this. Of course, I agree. Economy is primordially important factor in that, to bring that to 5 to 6% annual growth. Once we achieve that, then of course, all that foreign direct investment coming in CPEC projects or special economic zones, to put them judiciously on the one hand, and on the other hand, revamping these ailing industries which really need to do a lot. I'm not talking about our private sector industries, which is really a far cry to redo them or bringing them in order. But of course, as pointed out my co-panelist, heavy engineering and technologies and energy sector and others, we really have to start from a low level and then going up instead of looking directly towards steel mills or railways or for that matter bigger projects. Small beginnings in such a way that they start giving their results incrementally but with the consistency. If we are ready, if we are able to make that, then definitely we can think a lot from stage number 1, stage number 2 and stage number 3. And believe me not, in 5 years we will be lucky enough if we achieve 40% of that targets which we are considering is a far cry. But at least there is a breathing space, there is a sigh of relief, there is a ray of hope that along with Saudi Arabia and other countries are looking towards Pakistan positively. Now this is our turn to reciprocate and respond back. We can put our house in order by taking step number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we don't do that, then of course there will be no end. The commitment of PTI government is very much there to improve things, and that is why you and I may be puzzled for a moment why Prime Minister Imran Khan is shuttling between going to IMF, not going to IMF.
There seems to be a lot of confusion.
A lot of confusion, and that
They're very reluctant, but they say they don't have a choice, sir.
and then they might be thinking before going to IMF, let us make use of all other avenues which are there.
So primarily, sir, if we end up getting a certain chunk, let's suppose from UAE in the form of some commitment that this is the cash we are giving you, and yes, we do plan to invest, let's say, $5 billion in energy sector or in any other development sector. Do you think, sir, that is going to, obviously everybody's agreed that this is going to give us a lot of breathing space, a lot of cushion, but will that be enough? So now IMF, earlier we were looking at something like 10 to 12 billion US dollar. Maybe 15 was also an amount, I mean, this was stated by the finance minister. 3 seems to be hardly any money as compared to 15. But are we still not yet away from that kind of a deal, sir?
Yes, we need at least $12 billion. You know, and as you know, this year we have to pay
So we have
the
got
tranche.
25%
we have
of what
to
we
pay
need,
the
yeah?
tranche to, of the external debt by $8 billion. So that's a heavy sum. I think government will have to go to the World Bank.
And what about the import bill, sir, when you're talking about the deferred payments
This is what
for a
I
year?
wanted to say. The government will have
How
to.
much we will save for them?
First point is that they must go to the IMF and the World Bank for the rescheduling of the previous loan. That's very important.
Okay.
Right, number 1. And secondly, I think that Pakistan gets a new name in the world with this, with the induction of the new government. And this is the first good signal which has appeared in form of Saudi Arabian willingness to invest some money in Pakistan. So I think so that this message will go a long way in other part of the world as well. The people have developed some trust in Pakistan investment environment, number 1. Number 2, what is most important, which I wanted to say, is that Pakistani, most of the foreign exchange, as you know, drained out by way of the heavy imports. Our dependence
Imports,
on imports have gone up. Now by this very factor, this dependence, as you know very well, what it has done in return, the local manufacturing industry, they have been shut, closed down, or the investor have gone. They, after disposing of their units, they have gone. They have left this country.
Created a lot of
This
unemployment,
is
a lot of
very
problems. A
important.
lot of people
What we have
they've
to
gone
do
abroad,
is,
they've invested
yes,
there as well.
Now the investor wants to have assurance from the state, from the state policy.
Are you talking about the local
Yes.
domestic investor, or
We will have to come up with a new import policy and regulatory framework as well. And we will have to talk to our friends from whom we import a lot, that you have to also adjust your attitude and you have to support us. We must regulate our import sector with new duty.
now, sir, I was
That's very important.
surprised to know, sir, that every year we end up spending $5.5 billion, sir, in the import of dairy products like cheese, imported milk, butter. so and so forth.
The reason being, Faisal Saab, the reason being that the indigenous industry cannot compete. Its project.
Sir, why
its
can't
product
we
is-
add value to our own
This is
products?
why-
You are the fifth largest producer
That-
of milk
now-
in the world.
now
sir.
the government
and look
will
at the
have-
buffalo milk.
So the government, I mean, whether they like it or not, although we are committed to World Trade Organization's protocols, we have to open our market for all international products.
Absolutely.
But now the time has come that we have to rationalize them. And we have to protect our own industry. Otherwise, I tell you, no investor will be
So do
ready
you think
to-
1 year is enough to sort of, I'm not saying that, you just do everything perfect and
No,
tomorrow we
1 year
see
is not enough. But-
Singapore in Pakistan.
No,
What I'm
no,
saying
1 year
let's
is
be
not
practical, but be optimistic.
No, 1 year is not enough. But if at least you have taken a first step, it will
You have
give
set the direction right.
Yeah, direction. So this would give a real good message to the people, and the people will respond to it. Even the people of Pakistan, Pakistani investors, they want to give first priority to Pakistan. Unfortunately, some of the investors have gone out of the country because of the inhospitable condition prevailing in our country. So we have to, government of Pakistan will have to come up with an import policy which provides protection to the local investors. And they should feel incentivized. That
So
if
when you say in protecting the local investor, basically you're subsidizing, right, sir?
No, yes.
And they can't compete then. I mean,
Sir,
initially
sir,
there was a story that
sir,
Chinese products
this is-
will be flooded in the
No,
Pakistani
we
market.
will-
But if they can produce a lighter with light, with a cell, with the liquid, and everything, it's a torch plus a lighter for 20 rupees, which is not even 15 cents.
That is there.
So-
But the question is, now time has come that we have to now, we have to protect our industry because we have got no presence as far as the industrial sector is concerned. Our heavy industry is almost on the point of collapse. Our light and medium engineering industry,
Even
that
your
sector is not.
small and medium industry.
Yes, even that is very much
Yes,
non-responsive.
that is actually the backbone of
we
any
have
economy in the world, sir.
No, we will have to talk to the
Look at Holland,
Chinese.
look at
They are
Japan
our
for
good
that.
friend, but we will have to talk to them that they should also, I mean, on this policy matter, we should encourage the industrialization of our own country and ask them to produce product which is at least, if they cannot find a place in the world market, they should be able to sell their product within the domestic market. But for some time we will have.
Now,
to.
let's just
Otherwise, investor will not stay.
yeah, that's us. You have to make them comfortable.
This is a crisis in
Today
United
there was
States
a
of
report
America.
that World Economic Forum, I happen to know the gentleman, he's a good friend of mine, Amir Jahangir, he presented it to the Chairman NAB, the report. And we were very happy that, as far as the ethics and the work conditions and everything, so we have been, we were at 102, now we are at 99. Very good. What a shame, sir. Even now. I mean, where the world is and where are we, and we are so proud that our, 102
Yeah,
to
I know.
99. But my point is, sir, now you're an agro-based country, sir. 50 to 60% of your produce in vegetables and fruit, it goes waste. And so the quality of food which we produce is one of the best in the world. No value addition. At least $3 billion worth of export you can do as far as your seafood is concerned, sir. No value addition in there as well. Per capita, per acre yield, one of the lowest in the region, sir. And then, there is so much that we can do inside Pakistan, sir. Forget about the import. I mean, we
You
can.
see, all these things are related to your education. They are related to your level of scientific and technological development. These cannot just come like that. You can say that, well, we should have a medium industry. Why are we only producing the basic items? Because we do not have the capability of producing, items which are of a higher value.
So can't we produce cheese, proper butter,
We cannot produce
dairy
cheese.
products?
You cannot produce unless you have a certain level of technology, unless you understand how cheese is processed, how cheese is produced, what ingredients go in it. I mean, it's a very sophisticated industry. And so don't think that because cheese looks simple.
It's not that simple.
And there are hundreds of cheese, the types of cheese that there are. So let's forget about the cheese, that's not important. Let's talk of something more serious. In the sense that, your economy can improve as a consequence of your trying to sort of raise your industrial level, your agricultural level, and that also is related to education, that is also related to your scientific assimilation or of your community, of your people. That is not happening. Look, I mean,
Then what
we
are the
have,
hindrances? Why, General Saab?
because
Khan Saab was saying that in 60s we were the fastest. I remember, sir.
well, I mean, you see,
where did we
that,
go wrong
I
then?
don't think you should talk about the 60s very much, because the 60s reflected what the British had left us. And even then, as compared to India, the areas or the territory that came to Pakistan was one of the most backward in that sense. Balochistan was not even a province.
Correct.
And except for Punjab, all the other areas were extremely backward in terms of education.
Backward and poor.
In terms of education, in terms of industrialization, in terms of agriculture. So to say that, we had this aid from the US and we became partners with the US. So because of that, our economy benefited enormously and we took advantage. But it was a superficial sort of growth in Pakistan, which could not be sustained. And this is exactly what is happening every time, whether it is 9/11 and when we joined the Americans,
You see 8.5%
or whether
growth
it is
rates.
Afghan Jihad, or whether it is CENTO or CETO. So we can't really depend on these bubbles. We have to really go and strengthen our infrastructure and indigenous growth in all areas. There is no such thing as a linear approach. You say, well, I mean, our economy should improve. Your economy will never improve unless you educate your people, unless...
There's so many strings attached, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sir?
Well, we have to learn from our mistakes, whatever we are talking about. And then once we have learned from our mistakes, then try to diversify ourselves and our industries also. We used to talk about textiles 70s, 80s, 90s. We are today also talking about textiles.
There's no product diversification, sir?
There is a lot of requirement even in textile for diversification. What do people need in Africa? What sort of pattern they want, design they want, what sort of people need in Europe?
You need to get market oriented, sir.
Market oriented, and if we are making our fabrics for Pakistan or South Asia only, and we are not looking outside where is the bigger markets, then of course we are not diversifying ourselves. So in each and every sector we have to have that sort of rethinking, a critical thinking, that we have to start from each and every sector and then to go up from small,
Uphill
medium.
task, but it's a possible one.
It is possible one. It is doable, provided then again we have got that political will and strong leadership.
Interestingly, we have the political bill. Sir,
Sir.
last closing comment from you, sir.
Sir, I mean, the first thing I would like to say is that our governance structure is very complicated. It has to be simplified, number one. Number two, the attitude of the bureaucracy matters a lot. The bureaucratic attitude, I think the government, either the government should give them you may call it a training, you may call it they have to take some step in order to ensure an honest and an efficient conduct. That's very important. And it is a full-fledged project of a training. It is full-fledged a project of an intellectual
So you have to look into so many areas, sir. I think where there's a will, there is a way. One should be hopeful, and let's hope that we should move in the right direction, sir, because enough has been done to this beautiful country, which has so much of potential.
Oh, yes.
But we haven't been able to capitalize on that, unfortunately. Jal Sahab, thank you very much. Ambassador, was a pleasure. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
and
you.
that's all we have for this hour. I'll see you tomorrow at 8. Till then, you take good care of yourself. Khuda Hafiz from our side.
Is that the HR in Pakistan banking system is not qualified enough to meet the requirements of FATF in controlling money laundering. It means two things, that you have to train your HR according to the international standards, and second thing is you have to employ technology You have to bring in technology so that all these transactions and technology, one of the technologies is that you document your economy through the use of mini banking or cell phone banking, or entire economy being documented and going through banks. So that is employing technology and training your manpower to meet the international standards of banking system. That is where probably what you have mentioned time and again, the banking fraud in Karachi, which probably billions of rupees have been siphoned or have been regulated.
It's all over Pakistan, sir, interestingly.
All over Pakistan.
There
So
have
that is
more than 400
there's
cases.
two things: lack of ethics in the banking sectors. It is lack of training to the banking people, to the banking HR, and it is lack of forensics with the government to check those things, and also the lack of political will, because the government, if government itself gets involved into these kind of transactions, then there's nobody to check. So probably what you see in Karachi is more so the higher ups, the lead, the white collar elite getting involved into these kind of things. But then there should be the human resource or the officials at the banks who should be courageous enough to refuse these things.
Because, sir,
So
we
that is
really
what-
need
that
to
is-
take
that is
some
what they-
very, very tough measures for sure.
that is what their point is, that your entire banking system is stinking and is not working as per the international standards.
So, quick closing comments from you, Dr. Saab, and then Ambassador Saab. Sir.
Well, I think, Faisal, the problem is huge, and you cannot escape the problem by denying it. So we have to take the bull by the horns, as the saying goes. So which essentially means we have to take our image, our banking system, and the needs of our economy. They have to be accorded the utmost priority, and it's in that context that we must look at Financial Task Force. It's not the enemy, but they are pointing out a real problem in our banking sector, in our financial sector.
Which is also a part of your National Action Plan.
National Action Plan.
You could have done it much earlier, sir. You never paid attention to it, to be very honest.
So I think it's absolutely essential that we talk about not only passing the laws, coordination, and the final is going to be the implementation, which is the weakest link in our strategy how to regulate our financial markets.
Sir.
Yeah, this is the analysis. I fully agree with this, and the prescription that has been talked about by my fellow panelists. I will make one point, that our banking industry is really in a very bad shape, and as the Vice Marshal used the word stinking, I mean, there is so much of mismanagement and manipulation and misappropriation in the banking industry as a whole, that we have to be very careful. I know a friend of mine, I have a friend who is a very sound banker. He has been with foreign banks and works here now. And he said that he was hired at a very big salary by one of the smaller banks, and I won't name anything at all, but, and he was hired as Chief Financial Officer of the bank. And in 3 months, he decided to quit, and now he has left banking. He is doing something else. Quit, why? Because he said that if there is investigation, then I as CFO will go to jail, and those my big bosses will go scot-free. So this is what is the problem.
So collusion and collusion is the issue.
A lot needs to be done. Sir, you want to add something?
I think,
Final word?
yes, if you look at the entire past, about a decade or so, or maybe even back, we have seen mismanagement of finances of the in the banking sector, starting from bad loans, mounting bad loans that the banks have collected, to the fraudulent circulation of money, to the abetting the industrialists in siphoning the money away from the country. So there's a long list. So I think, but that doesn't say the entire banking sector is bad. There are elements.
There are elements as well.
There are very. I mean, we are the country that established banking in Middle East, we are the country that took proud in our banking system. But at
We
the
also
moment,
had the example of BCCI. Let me
yeah,
point it
we
out.
had it.
And now we have Abraj. We now have Abraj Capital.
But probably what we today look at is the politicization of the banking system and making the political
That's the most
element,
unfortunate part, sir,
making
when the interest
we didn't-
of a
we didn't-
politician
we didn't put competent people at the head of our banks. Look at
I think,
the
sir, we
National
really need to
State
pull
Bank
our
of
socks
Pakistan.
up, because this is the time, sir. It's now or never, to be very honest. We have to take some very strict measures, and the real part is about the implementation. That is actually the name of the game. So thank you very much, Dr. Saab. Thank you very much, ABM. It was a pleasure. And that's all we have for this hour. I'll see you tomorrow at 8. Till then, you take good care. Khuda Hafiz from us. But yeah,
good use of
yeah, a lot. I think there has to be a proper export policy.
That's right.
And export doesn't mean that you need to have $1 trillion to have a factory to run, but a lot can be done. But anyway, sir, thank you very much. It was a pleasure, Dr. Saab. Thank you very much, Priya Saab. And that's all we have for this week. I'll see you tomorrow, rather. Sorry, I'll be doing my show tomorrow as well. So I'll be seeing you tomorrow on Friday at 8. Till then, you take good care. Khuda Hafiz.